My buddy KJ walks up to me sporting this tool pouch that you wouldn't give to a 6-year-old on their first day on the job site. I say, KJ, you should be wearing something as dependable and sturdy as you are. She says, don't call me sturdy. So this is how I made a tool pouch as dependable and rugged as she is. So she brings over this knife, this Gerber, these gloves, and this tape measure. This tape measure makes me pretty sad, so I'm going to go ahead and give her this Milwaukee Auto Lock, which is a good tape measure, and she also wants to carry around her cell phone in her tool pouch. Now, some of you might not do that, and obviously you've never worn lady pants before. Those pockets are worthless. So where does one go to get leather during a COVID-19 outbreak? Well, Amazon is where I went. I got this stuff from Hide and Drink. I'm not familiar with the company. They've got a very good marketing team. Leather seems pretty good. Not much pull-up to speak of, but generally high quality, maybe about 9 ounces. And we're going to cut it and put it together and stitch it where it looks good or needs more enforcement and rivet it elsewhere. I think that's all that's needed. I'm going off of stuff like Occidental leather here. I'm not trying to make the most beautiful thing in the world, mostly just a functional tool pouch. Alright, so let's get started here. Well, got a cell phone, got a tape measure, and we've got 2 knives. When I start putting stuff together, I kind of just think of it as 3-dimensionally as I can. Gloves, I think they're going to hang off of a grommet, maybe. We're going to use this one. We're going to get this guy out of the way. And I'm going to have to make something so that this tape measure is not just scratching up a cell phone every time she takes it out. So maybe the cell phone gets protective thing here because she still has to grab it. This is one of the reasons prototyping just takes so long. You have to rearrange everything, think about everything 18 times, and it's not like working on a CAD project or some sort of woodworking project where you measure twice or more and then make it work. The leather's just a lot more pliable and a lot more plastic, so it's a little more just playing with it over and over again until you get something nice. As I get ready to cut out the corners here, I'm just going to use what I have around me. You can see me using my rotary cutter to get a nice circle, and when I like it and I cut it out, I just flip it on over and send it to the other side.
because it's going to be better if it looks even on both sides as opposed to taking better measurements. I find the more you can use your work instead of measuring something new, the better projects look and the quicker they go. And those aren't quite big enough, so I'm going to get out the coffee cup and use that as a circle, because why not? And right about here, you can see me misjudging where that circle should be, and I just redraw it. That's part of the reason when I do prototypes, I just give them out, because they're going to be a little bit rougher than a standard project. So if I'm making a project for myself or my friends, they understand if there's a rough edge and it's a free thing. But if I'm sending it out to customers, well, that's why we prototype first and make a production one later. And there we have it, a nice little tape measure bikini. For little oblong shapes like these and cylinders, it's stronger and usually better looking if you just fold the material over and then let it shape later rather than trying to make a perfect cylinder. These nice curves everywhere, they not only look nicer, but they serve the purpose of allowing you to access the tool and allowing me to access the rivets to attach this whole thing later. There just aren't a lot of straight edges on the finished project, and it ends up looking nice that way. Right about where I got the idea that the cell phone should sit just a little bit proud above the belt loop and a little bit proud above everything, and that's where the project really starts coming together. It's a good feeling when you see that it's going to work and the tape measure is not going to screw up the surface as you pull it out. Alright, so we've cut out the large pieces. We've got all of our kind of components here. I'm a little worried that this is going to scratch up a cell phone. So we're going to have to solve that problem, maybe by covering it up with some leather or another. I've got some duck cloth. I'm not sure what we're going to do about that yet. But anyways, we've cut out the pieces, rough cut. This is almost not cut out at all because that's the final piece. If you have some leather hanging over the side, then you can cut out a bunch of layers all at once and save yourself a lot of time. So Now we're going to start kind of dry fitting everything. We're going to put rivets in, but we're not going to set the rivets. We're just going to put them in and snap them so we can take them out later and finish our work. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. Let's keep on going. Side note, those rivets weren't in danger of scratching up the cell phone at all, so that was a freebie. It looks like I'm freehanding a lot of this stuff, and well, some of it I am, but you've got these great guidelines on these self-repairing mats, and if you put them to good use, you have to bust out the tape measure a lot less. So if you just look at these guidelines and line things up, so consider it. Now, I know that sounds really obvious, but the difference, or the gray area between a craftsman and an artist is that a craftsman is always looking for ways to go quicker while not sacrificing quality. And there's a lot of obvious stuff that you overlook because you're always going for the best product. And it's always good to just keep an eye on how you can be more efficient. Always more efficient. kind of see as we build this up, we're getting this this curve to the whole thing. And that's actually what we want, because the more three-dimensional we make this, the more rigid it becomes. So when we start putting our blade holders on the side there, they're going to stick out instead of wanting to pinch in too much. And when we have our tape measure stuck in there, it's going to sort of just really grab it from all sides, including our cell phone. When we put the cell phone in there, same thing. So these curves are expected and good, and it's just sort of how the project comes together. So it's important to think about how you're going to get to these rivets and stitches as you go. I think companies like Occidental that have been around for so long really have this well thought out, where for me, in order to get to all these rivets, I'm going to have to make the back of the belt loop taper upwards from the center. And honestly, it's going to look nicer like that anyways. Giving me trouble, and it's really tempting to want to keep all your tools even if they're dull or ineffective. If you can sharpen it or maintain it, great. Otherwise, it's got to go right in the trash. Because if you hoard tools, you're going to pick it out of the toolbox at some point, and it's either going to slow you down, be ineffective, or might even be dangerous. Chuck it.
Man, I really can't stress that enough. I know the urge to not waste money and salvage every tool is so strong, but it's really going to waste time down the future, and especially if you hurt yourself. I've done that before with a dull tool. Just don't bother.
are done. Cuts are good. Sanded some rough edges. Really looked at the thing, had it together, pulled it apart a bunch of times. So I think we're about now. Yeah, we're gonna make a pattern for this thing. I think this is gonna be a keeper. Really tempting just to put this thing together, but if I put it together, I can't make a pattern. And this was a toughie. I would like it to go together smoothly when I make another one.
My wife just came home from work maybe, and I just wanted to talk about small living spaces. I took up leather work because I've always been a maker, and we moved to a big city, and at the time of this recording, it was a one-bedroom apartment, and this is just a table in the middle of our living room. And, you know, it's not ideal, but it just goes to show that makers can still make in a small space. You should try to find something to satiate your creativity, because there are hobbies out there that you can do in a small space.
Found a really good way to punch through the cardboard yet. The punch just gets clogged up. I wonder if it's just really meant for leather and I'm screwing it up.
Taking a little time and learning how to sharpen your tools is very satisfying and very effective. I highly recommend a 3-stage diamond sharpening kit like this. It's a little pricey, but boy, I love it, and I've had it for about 10 years now. Normally I wouldn't recommend metal on metal for pounding tools, but that's a fairly flimsy table on a fairly flimsy floor, so I really need all the contact I can get, and I'm just gonna risk my tools mushrooming out a bit. In the future, I'm looking to get a much sturdier table that'll transfer energy. Until then, I'm making a lot of noise, and I'm using metal on metal. So sorry. Really take an extra second with your glue. It's going to make your stitching a lot easier, and it makes projects look nicer. It's really easy to convince yourself that you don't need to do it, but it's just going to save you time. Right here where I'm starting to discover just how tough this particular color leather is. I've used leather of this approximate thickness from this company before, but there's something about this, I don't know if it's the cut or how I tanned this specific leather, but boy is it a bear. I'll be going with something else for the production run of this project. Maybe a veg tan, since this is more of a tool holster than a tool pouch. I don't know, just not this leather. I will go crazy. I like a little splash of color in most of my projects. Maybe it's because I don't take myself too seriously, or I don't know, maybe colors are just nice. I like to sit on my stitching pony. Do other people do that? I don't know. That's what I do. I'm noticing that one thing I could be better about is putting my tools away when I'm done using them. Boy, that's looking like a cluttered desk. I've got a few square inches of workspace left, and I'm just pushing things aside as I go.
Yeah, so this side was really rough. I got stuck right here in the corner trying to get this rivet on, and I was just hammering on it and thinking about the problem a lot, and ended up being a bad rivet. Yeah, I'm starting to find out that I don't love these hammer-on rivets. I'm not sure I want to pay for copper rivets, especially for something like this. But if there's some sort of pop riveter that doesn't leave really gross backsides. That's my problem with a pop riveter is the backside's just a little too gross for leather working. If there's something that's intermediary between these hammer-ons and a pop riveter, I'd love to hear about it. Body together. It was a real bear, but it does look right. Let's see if I can fit all the stuff in it. Oh yeah, that's nice. It is exactly what I wanted. So I'm gonna wet this after the whole thing is together, and it's gonna really conform to this shape. And when it wears in, it'll grab it just enough so that you can have this thing on your hip and it won't fall out. It'll be a little bit looser than it is right now, but the fact that it's fitting tightly right now, right after I put this thing together, bodes really well. So I'm happy with how that works. Let's check out the phone. And oh yeah, same. This is really tight, but really nice. And then when it comes time to have this thing wet shape a little bit to what's in it, oh man, oh yeah, it's a happy moment. Damn, good looking.
project's basically done, but there's one more stipulation, and that's that KJ wanted a glove holder on there. So I've got a grommet, and I'm gonna sink it in the bottom corner of this thing, and that's gonna be nice and strong. And at the time of this recording, I don't have any spring clips or glove holders, so I've got them on order from Amazon, and those will be in the final pictures. I feel like glove holders are kind of an overlooked feature on a lot of things. You know, if you're on a job site, maybe it's commercial, you've got gloves on all day, but if you're a stagehand or a smaller contractor, or maybe you're just doing a site visit, you want to have your gloves, but you don't need to wear them all the time.
Well, I just broke my table. This has been a tough project. I've really struggled with it. There's just, it's really tough leather. It's one layer is slightly too thick for my little rivets, and 2 layers is slightly too thin for my, yeah. So, I'm gonna get it done, and maybe break my table more. Just know that working in an apartment sucks, but we still do it, don't we? Well, alright, here it is. I've got some glove clips on the way, so that will be more usable. It won't just be a little paracord I found. But the rest of it's pretty final here. Everything fits very snugly. It's ready to get wet and dry on it for a couple days. When I take the tape out, there's plenty of room between the tape and the cell phone, so you're not really in danger of scratching the screen. These knife holders grab pretty well, and the knives are sitting up high, so that'll be really nice when it wet fits. I ended up doing a lot less stitching than I originally wanted to, because this leather is really, really tough. Man, I struggled. Honestly, that bodes pretty well for the final product, right? Because you want your tool pouch to be tough. But that is an engineering challenge for me, because if I want to make these and sell them instead of just making them for the occasional buddy, I'm going to have to figure out a way to make this process a little less frustrating. Because, man, some of these rivets were just a bear to get. But yeah, you know what? Nothing good comes easy, and I think this is really cool. I might just go ahead and make one for myself. Yeah. Well, there's video number 1. Thanks for watching. I don't sell anything as of yet, but I would like to. So if you're interested in something like this, I think there's a lot of people out there who could benefit from one size kind of does everything small tool belt, so you can stay nimble on a job site, because we're not all carpenters or electricians that need to have 100 tools on us at all times. A lot of us are doing layouts, consultations, and the like. So if you'd like something like this, or you want me to develop something more suited towards what you do, please let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe. Like I said, I'm new to this. I've been making leather things for myself and my buddies for a while, but yeah, it'd be nice to get a little beer money out of the thing. So have a good one.